Welcome to today's Explainer. I am incredibly excited you're here with us right now because today we are decoding the absolute ultimate examiner's blueprint for Cambridge Accounting AS and A-Level 9706. Specifically, we're diving deep into absorption costing and overhead absorption rates. Now look, I know this is a topic that can feel a little heavy on the math and maybe slightly intimidating. But whether you're already feeling confident or you're kind of dreading it, we are going to break down exactly what the people grading your papers are actually looking for. We're going to get right inside the examiner's mind. So let's jump straight in. Right off the bat, I want to establish exactly what's at stake here. Take a look at this direct quote from our source material. It explicitly says, mastering absorption costing, overhead absorption rates is essential. This topic appears in every examination series. I really want you to think about that for a second. Every single series. You literally cannot dodge this topic. It is a guaranteed hurdle on your paper. But here's the good news. Today, we're going to take that inevitable hurdle and turn it into a massive scoring opportunity, just by understanding how to play the game exactly the way the examiners want you to play it. Okay, here's our roadmap for the explainer today. First up, we'll cover core theoretical principles. Then, we'll move into the procedural framework. Third, we'll tackle critical analysis strategies. And finally, we'll wrap up with avoiding examiner traps. All right, Section 1, core theoretical principles. You absolutely need this foundational architecture in place before you can even think about tackling those high-tariff questions. So here is a really fascinating insight into how the top-tier candidates actually operate. The Cambridge Assessment Framework isn't just looking for one thing. It actually targets three totally distinct cognitive domains. First, you have knowledge and understanding. And yes, obviously, you need to know your precise definitions, but honestly, that's just the baseline that gets your foot in the door. Then comes analysis, where you start looking at the causal relationships between different pieces of data. And then, right at the top of the pyramid, the highest tier, evaluation. The syllabus makes it so clear that you can't just be a robot memorizing formulas. You actually have to evaluate evidence and draw logical, sound conclusions, often in completely unfamiliar business contexts. You really have to master all three of these domains to unlock those top band marks. And that brings us to this crucial point. The theoretical architecture of absorption costing, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. This right here is an amazing, kind of hidden insight pulled directly from the principal examiner reports. Candidates who actively reference connections to other syllabus areas, like say candidates who can show how overhead rates directly impact pricing strategies or how they ripple through the overall financial statements, those candidates achieve significantly higher marks. It's like a giant puzzle. Examiners are actively hunting for students who show that broader, connected, conceptual understanding. They want to see that you see the whole picture. Let's transition over to Section 2, the procedural framework. We're going to see exactly how those theories translate into the step-by-step methodology examiners expect. Think of this as your standardized sequence. It's basically a deconstruct, solve, and evaluate framework, and it works like magic. Step 1. Identify the given information. You need to extract the data accurately from whatever dense texts or confusing tables they throw at you. Step 2, break the problem down into logical, manageable steps. Step 3, execute your analysis and solve it systematically. Step 4, and people skip this all the time, check for reasonableness. Step back and ask yourself, does this final number actually make sense in the real world for this business? And finally, Step 5, make justified recommendations. This whole sequence isn't just a helpful suggestion. It's literally the exact processing engine you need to properly interpret the data and pull out those critical relationships the examiners want to see. Which brings us to something absolutely massive. Let's talk about the method mark strategy. In Cambridge Accounting, you are heavily rewarded for the process itself. What does that mean for you? It means you can actually earn points just for demonstrating the correct analytical process and showing you're working out clearly, even if, worst case scenario, you panic and punch the wrong number into your calculator at the very last second. I'm totally serious. Your systematic working out is just as vital, and honestly sometimes more vital, than your final numerical answer. Moving right along to Section 3, critical analysis strategies. Let's look at the analytical depth you need to really justify your recommendations. Now, when an exam question asks you to evaluate or compare two different approaches, a superficial, surface-level answer just won't cut it. Higher-order comparative analysis demands that you identify both the similarities and the differences. And here is a massive pro tip for you. You have to use comparative connectives. I'm talking about words like whereas or conversely or similarly to actually link your points together. You can't just list things. You have to support every single comparison with hard evidence from the text or the tables they've given you, and then draw a solid conclusion about which one is more important. And this slide really brilliantly illustrates how you should evaluate the quality of that evidence. When you are staring at a bunch of data in an overhead absorption question, you need to rigorously interrogate it using these 4 specific angles. First, what are the actual limitations of this data? Second, what assumptions have been made in calculating the specific overhead rate? Third, are there alternative interpretations we could make here? And fourth, most importantly, what is the domino effect of all this on your final conclusions? If you can execute this level of critical analysis, that is exactly what unlocks the absolute top-tier marks and fully satisfies those difficult higher-order assessment objectives. Okay, we've made it to our final section, Section 4, Avoiding Examiner Traps. Let's look at the exact pitfalls you need to dodge. So, according to the principal examiner reports, there are exactly 3 reoccurring, totally avoidable mistakes that consistently cost students their grades. Let's make absolutely sure you aren't falling into these traps. All right, here they are. Mistake number 1, simply forgetting the proper format. I'm talking about failing to use the right headings, using sloppy terminology, or leaving out clear annotations. Mistake number 2 is pretty much the cousin of mistake 1, forgetting to double-check that format and presentation before you move on to the next question. You've got to review your work. And mistake number 3, which is a big one, giving generic answers that aren't specific to the context in the prompt. Look, if the company in the question manufactures custom wooden furniture, your written evaluation needs to talk about custom wooden furniture, not just generic units. Failing to present your information clearly and in context just throws away incredibly easy marks. Don't do it. So, I am officially sounding the ultimate examiner alert right now. Always, always, always show you're working. Students constantly lose marks because they just scribble down a final floating number at the bottom of the page. Remember that method mark strategy we talked about earlier? Even if your final calculation is entirely wrong, maybe you just made a silly arithmetic error, the method marks you get from clearly showing your step-by-step process can literally save your entire grade. Seriously, do not leave those easy points on the table. To help you lock all this procedural stuff into your brain under exam pressure, our source material actually suggests a highly effective memory hack. Take that procedural framework we discussed earlier, identify, break down, solve, check, recommend, and invent your very own mnemonic using the first letters of those words. Make it weird, make it funny, make it a bizarre sentence. It doesn't matter. Just make sure it's something you can instantly recall the second you sit down at that desk in the exam hall. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, crucial question to think about. If your final calculation is completely wrong, will your precise methodology and clear formatting save your grade? Well, based on the examiner's blueprint we just decoded today, the answer is a massive, resounding yes. The process really is the power here. Make sure you practice these exact techniques using past papers and apply this highly evaluative mindset every single time you study. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. You guys did great. Keep analyzing, keep practicing, and I will see you on the next one.